Hey y'all! Beating Pokemon Crystal using only one Hitmontop was a roundabout sort of video, but this week is Christmas, so I'll get right to the point. It's a special time of year, so I'm gonna try to beat Pokemon Crystal using only one Delibird. As usual, the rules are I can only use Delibird in battle, and I can't use any trainer items in battle. By the way, if you like this kind of content and want to see more, be sure to subscribe and check out more of these videos on my channel. Delibird is a jolly little bird known for carrying around presents in its weird little tail sack and handing them out to other Pokemon. Why is a penguin doing Santa's job for him, you might ask? Well, it would appear Santa's fallen on hard times and has had to outsource his deliveries to a friggin' bird. Pretty soon he'll be working that North Pole to help pay the bills, if you know what I mean. It's just like that Christmas song says. You know Dasher and Dancer and Prancer and Vixen, the economy's been tanking ever since Nixon. Getting back on track, not everyone might remember, but Delibird actually had a reoccurring role in the anime as a cohort of Jessie and James from Team Rocket. It was pretty strong in that incarnation, which is ironic when you consider its in-game counterpart. In Crystal, Delibird has pretty terrible stats, and to add tinsult to injury, it only learns a single move by level up, and of course, it's present. Well, that's just how the milk and cookie crumbles sometimes. How will Delibird fare in this run? Well, you've heard of Elf on the Shelf. Now get ready for Bird drops a... You know what, never mind. Let's just get into it. Off at Professor Elm's lab, I used the Universal Pokemon Randomizer to replace Chikorita with Delibird so that our rival will pick the Fire-type Cyndaquil. Delibird is weak to Fire types, so this makes things just a little bit harder for us. Delibird is a bird known for hauling around presents like Santa, so I nickname ours Quacksack. I actually came up with a lot of names for this one, so for your own Delibirds, feel free to use any of these honorable mentions. Kris Kringle, Freezes Jesus, and Quack Frost. Delibird starts off with a single move, Present, and this signature move is pretty weird. Present either deals damage or heals the opponent for a quarter of their health. It has a 20% chance to heal the opponent, but when it does deal damage, it randomly chooses between 40, 80, and 120 base power. All of that on its own makes the move unreliable, but the fact that it's only 90% accurate on top of that doesn't make any franken sense. We beat the rival Bubs for our first battle, but I can't wait for us to get some TMs to actually teach Delibird. With Bubs beaten, I take on Faulkner and his flying freaks at the Violet City gym. And I actually learned something cool here. I've already explained how Present has a 20% chance to heal a quarter of the opponent's HP, but what I didn't know was that if this occurs while they're already at full health, the game will say that their Pokemon refused the gift. Ugh, what kind of a sick freak refuses a Christmas present? Talk about looking a gift horse in the sack. Look a gift horse in the mouth. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. Now in Azalea Town, I'm in a Yuletide bind. Despite me teaching the TM for Swift I grabbed in Union Cave along the way, Bugsy is actually too strong for Delibird. Kakuna's Poison Sting whittles us down whenever we get poisoned, and Scyther's Fury Cutter builds up damage way too fast. It's not super effective, mind you, but Fury Cutter's damage can still really start to snowball out of control. A couple of tries later though, I stopped using Swift and decide to go for broke with Present. My blind faith is rewarded when we not only get the 120 base power, but we get a critical hit to boot. Swift finishes up the battle like a shiny red bow finishes a beautiful wrapping job. And now that we've snubbed Bugsy's grubs, it's time to get the dub against Bubs. He's got a Ghastly now, which is immune to both Present and Swift, so it's a good thing Delibird can learn the Mud Slap TM that Faulkner gave us. Hey, looks like he's the one giving presents now, eh? While it helps take down the Ghastly, Quilava hits way too hard with Ember, and we can't outdamage it with Swift or Present. And there's only one thing to do, and that's pray to the gods of Mudslap, or as I like to call them, Mudadies. I top off our experience to hit level 20 and try this a few more times. Our level ending in 0 means the damage formula is rounding up extra damage in our favor, and the Mudadies smile upon us as Quilava goes down with plenty of health left over to deal with the Zubat. And you know, the Mudslap strategy really is the glue holding a lot of these early battles together. Next up is the Goldenrod City Gym in the battle with Whitney's Miltank. If I had to pray to the mud deities last time, I'm sacrificing a goat to them this time. Delibird is double weak to rollout and our defense is terrible, so I can't afford to take a single hit. Still, even with our lame accuracy strategy, or as I like to call it, whack-dicks, we barely do any damage. So I battle trainers to level up not only to get stronger, but also to make Delibird happy enough to get the TM for return. This is one of the best moves Delibird will get throughout the entire run, and it really helps here. We use return a lot for these Crystal Challenge runs, but hey, if it's worked before, why not use it again? No need to re-advent the wheel. I reached the rival bubs in the Burnt Tower in Olivine City, and normally this battle is where most runs done run sugar plum out of luck. This time, however, I'm happy to report that I won this battle on the first try, thanks to our higher level in the move return. The plain badge we just got from Whitney boosts the power of normal type moves, and return is already 102 base power, so it's pretty strong. Mud Slap is our only way to hit the Haunter, so no way to avoid taking a curse. And return is a 2-shot on the Quilava, so we have to take an Ember, but thanks to a berry recovering some of our health and the fact that curse doesn't damage you the turn that you knock out a Pokemon, we're actually able to get through this one on the very first try. And I can't believe it. Next up is the Spectral Showdown with the Olivine City Gym Leader Morty and his gang of ghoulish ghosts. This battle is really difficult, not only because of the usual issues with curse depleting our health, but there's also another issue at hand. Mud Slap only has 10 BP, and it's so weak that we don't have enough BP to knock out all of Morty's ghost even if we don't get cursed. Our little penguin is in trouble, so what'll we do about it? Well, there's nothing to do here but level up until Mud Slap does more damage and therefore requires less BP. And I tried depleting our BP and fighting with struggle instead, but that was, well, a struggle. I kept losing to recoil, so instead, it's time to slap some mud until at level 38, we managed to snag a victory, thanks largely in part to the fact that we never got cursed. Now with the ability to surf, I set sail from Olivine City and head to the Cianwood City Gym to take on the fighting type gym leader Chuck, so I can get the HM for Fly for beating him from his disgruntled wife. And I don't blame her, since he ends up disgruntling me too. His Poliwrath puts us to sleep with the wildly inaccurate hypnosis, and then he lands 2 consecutive dynamic punches, also wildly inaccurate, to knock us out. Man, sure would be a shame if we had the move Fly right now for the fighting type gym. That's okay though, we might be getting Ebenezer screwed, but I couldn't Christmas carol less. Rather than leveling up, I keep trying this battle until Poliwrath's moves miss enough for Delibird to win. I really want that Fly HM. Primarily because it's one of the best moves Delibird gets, but also because it makes navigating the map much faster. After a couple of resets with annoyingly consistent dynamic punch misfortune, I finally beat Chuck when return lands a critical hit. We beat Chuck, so all is right with the world once again. Everything's partridge for the course now. I had to take on Price, the Ice-type gym leader in Mahogany Town, so that I can get the TM for Icy Wind, which is another one of the best moves that Delibird can learn. Price's Pokemon aren't too much of a challenge for our Postal Penguin, except Piloswine's Blizzard would probably do decent damage, but it ends up missing, so there's no way to find out. We easily defeat Price, and with the Icy Wind TM in tow, we can check another one of our toys off the list. Next up is the Steel-type gym leader Jasmine, and she is the reason that I wanted to beat Price first. Mud Slap is double super effective against her Magnemites, so this ends up being a surprisingly easy victory for what is normally a terrible time. You might be thinking, however, Delibird is weak to Steel, so an Iron Tail from Steelix is devastating. But thankfully, Steelix has low special defense, and Icy Wind does great damage, especially with the boost to ice moves that we get from Price's badge. We're able to 2-hit KO after just barely surviving a super effective Iron Tail, which is a real relief considering this battle is usually a total mess. Speaking of which, I used to always make such a mess opening presents on Christmas morning, what with the wrapping paper getting all over the floor and such, and I'd want to immediately play with my toys without cleaning up, but my mom would always say, "You'll tidy up right now." And I would ask, "Why can't I play with my toys first?" And she'd reply, "Because there's no time like the present." Geez, that joke was more labor than this challenge run. With 7 gym badges in hand, we now have to take on the rival Bubs in the basement underground during the Team Rocket Radio Tower anime arc. We did surprisingly well the last time we battled Bubs, and this time we have even better moves. We also now have access to the Never Melt Ice Hold item to boost the power of Icy Wind. And all things being said, Delibird has surprisingly good type coverage with its moves. Ice and Flying hit a lot of things super effective, and most things for at least neutral damage. Still can't one-hit KO the Magnemite with Mud Slap, but that's fine, I guess. Other than that minor snafu, we mixed and a mingle and a jingle and beat Bubs' butt. Now it's time for the final Johto gym leader, Claire the Dragon-type trainer. She's a real Grinch, and her Thunder Wave spam shenanigans cause a lot of trouble. Normally all would seem Wenceslas, but dragons are weak to ice, so no need for a Christmas miracle. Delibird is already at level 54, so Icy Wind blows away her Dragonairs. And Kingdra being part water means it's neutral to ice, and Return is not quite a 2-hit KO, so I use a Mud Slap just to reduce the chance of taking a smokescreen. And hey, no need for layaway, because that strategy paid off. Before the Elite Four, we traverse Victory Road to take on our rival Bubs one last time. And at this point, our level is so high that Delibird is able to breeze through his entire team, although it's not all Grandma's apple pie just yet. His Typhlosion does half of our health with a single Flame Wheel, despite being 20 levels lower. And that's got me a little concerned going into the Elite Four, where the Pokemon are higher levels and much stronger in general. So it looks like I'm going to end up spending all of our money on vitamins to boost our stats to help get through the Elite Four, which is a shame because I wanted to use that money on spending Christmas in a luxury hotel, just like in Home Alone 2, or as I like to call it, Figgy Puddin' on the Ritz. Speaking of which, here are the stats and the moves at the Elite Four. Delibird is level 57 and the moveset hasn't changed much. Aw, look at that animation! Isn't it cute how Delibird likes to tug on his sack? As for the stats, if I said they were great, that'd be a little white elephant lie, and if I had to compare them to presents, they're a lot less iPad on Christmas morning and a lot more itchy wool sweater on Christmas Eve. Up first is the Psychic-type Elite Four member Will. Will is wearing a mask like he's ready for a Christmas cabaret, or as I like to call it, a Moulin Scrooge. This battle is a good opportunity to point out a fundamental flaw with Delibird. With its higher level, it uses its decent coverage to one-hit KO most of Will's team, except for the Slowbro. And now here's the kicker. Slowbro hits one Psychic, a neutral hit, for almost half of our health. Delibird might be picking up KOs, but it's so frail that when it doesn't, it spells big trouble. Who am I kidding? You'll find out exactly what I mean in just a bit. Next up is Koga, the Poison and Bug-type Elite Four member. This battle can be pretty frustrating since his Pokemon love to spam evasion-boosting moves that cause us to whiff our own. Fly is super effective against his bugs, but being a 2-turn move gives them a chance to raise their evasion with Double Team. And even when I do knock out the lead area dose, there's still a Steel-type Forretress, and this time, unlike Steelix, it resists Ice instead of being neutral. Plus, once I get close to knocking it out, it goes for Explosion. Chimney Crickets! On the next go-around, Delibird knocks out the Ariados with Fly, and then it's the Forretress once more. Once I knock it to half health, I predict it going for an explosion, so I use Fly to dodge. Since it fainted while I was in the air, I get a free single-turn Fly when he sends out his Muck. Hey, that's one less turn it gets to boost evasion with Minimize, so I'll take it. One Minimize isn't enough, and Return finishes it off, and then Venomoth goes down in a single Fly. Crobat barely survives an Icy Wind, does double team things, and then heals with a full restore. But Delibird doesn't want to end up on the naughty list, so it finishes things off by hitting an Icy Wind through evasion. Next up is the Fighting-type Elite Four member Bruno. Bruno's whole team is weak to flying besides the Onix, who is, well, weak to ice, so this one should be a real cakewalk. Hey, what does that even mean anyways? Is that going on a walk to buy a cake, or trying to walk after eating too much cake? Anyways, Bruno, he's a trainer. His lead Hitmontop has Detect, which means I can't hit it with Fly. He'll just block it with Detect on the turn that we would normally hit, so Return it is. Now on the rest of his team, we get to use Fly. Even the Machamp goes down in a single Fly. Plus, the icing on top of the cakewalk is that we hit level 60 at the end of the battle, meaning that we get that nice extra damage rounding going into the battle with Karen. Speaking of the literal devil, here she is, and she is actually the worst, and as always, I'm apprehensive going into this battle. Okay, I know Delibird's not a hen, but shut up. She leads off as always with her Scumbrion, which repeatedly lowers our accuracy with Sand Attack and then confuses us with Confuse Ray. Plus, it's so bulky that it takes 4 hits to knock it out, and despite the fact that Umbreon doesn't do much damage itself, it hits so often it racks up enough that we're on just 2 HP by the time the Houndoom comes out. And that's not even close to cutting the mustard. Thanks, Karen, you absolute devil. You're really Krampus my style. So, Karen wants to play around with confusion, huh? Well, 2 can play at that game. I replaced Mud Slap with Swagger, and besides being a thing that Soulja Boy never had, Swagger is a great move. It raises the opponent's attack by 2 stages and then confuses them. A dangerous move to use against a physical attacker, but against a team of special attackers like Karen, it's a better version of Confuse Ray. That's because confusion damage is based upon the difference between the user's attack and defense, so raising their attack makes them do more damage to themselves. Since Delibird just misses the 1-hit KO on Houndoom, Swagger can prevent it from attacking while dealing the necessary chip damage for our next attack to 1-hit KO. And you can do this to physical attackers too, it's just way more dangerous. With Swagger, we mistletoe the line between victory and defeat, but with a bit of luck, we can kiss our worries goodbye. Now it's time for the champion battle with the last member, Lance the Dragon Master. Just like when we were getting ready to battle Claire, I mentioned that normally this is a really tough battle, but today it's a total breeze. Thanks to having an Ice-type Pokemon, Lance's dragons don't stand a chance. His scariest Pokemon is the Charizard, but its Flamethrower gets weakened by Gyarados setting up the Rain Dance, so no worries at all actually. The Aerodactyl's Rock Slide would definitely 1-hit KO since Delibird is double weak to Rock, but we outspeed and 1-hit KO with Icy Wind. In fact, all of Lance's actual Dragon Pokemon are double weak to Icy Wind, so Delibird completely embarrasses Lance. Speaking of embarrassment, I just need to get something off my chest. You're never too old to learn something, and while I'm in my 30s, I just this week learned that the line in the song is, "I am old Kris Kringle, I'm the king of jingling." My whole life, I thought he was claiming to be the king of dingaling, which explains why I look very uncomfortable in all my childhood pictures with Santa. And with Lance defeated, we have finally conquered the Pokemon League, but you know the run isn't over yet. I'm always going to consider beating the final Trainer Red as the final boss of the run, unless of course a Pokemon is just impossibly bad. I set sail upon the SS Aqua to head over to Kanto to take on their 8 gym leaders, to acquire all 16 badges, to earn the right to challenge Red atop Mount Silver. The first 7 gym leaders were not worth talking about, so now it's time to take on the final Kanto gym leader, Blue. Blue's team is super tough. He's got a lot of very strong Pokemon, and we're no longer over-leveled, so we've lost what little advantage we actually had. Delibird just doesn't have enough damage output to get past the Arcanine, so I decided to get a little creative. On the next go-around, I gave Delibird a Bitterberry to hold, and instead of knocking out the Pidgeot straight away, I used Swagger on it. Pidgeot is a physical attacker, so yes, it's a little dangerous for me to be boosting its attack, but I wanted to use a Mirror move to copy Swagger back onto us. That way, our attack will be boosted by 2 stages, and the Bitterberry will heal our confusion. So what just happened is, we flipped a coin and got a free Swords Dance on Delibird to double our attack stat. Now that's using the old egg noggin. Now everything that was barely a 2-hit KO is now a 1-hit KO. Blue's team just went from being impossible to barely a problem at all. Rhydon resists Fly and Return, but goes down in a single Icy Wind. And while Gyarados survives a boosted Return, it wastes its turn to attack by going for Rain Dance. Full restores don't matter when we outspeed it, so Blue is just delaying the inevitable. We do miss a Fly against the Exeggutor, but that's okay. It can't really do anything anyways, and we knock it out on the follow-up Fly. Dang, I'm really pleased with how well that went. It started out kinda sketchy, but our Holiday Ombre ended up tradition out of beating. With all 16 badges in hand, it's time to take on the final Trainer Red atop Mount Silver. Before coming here, I spent the last of our money at the game corner to get Delibird the TM for Blizzard. No point in pulling punches now, after all. And it goes without saying that Red has the strongest team of the game, and that's only partially because of how high his Pokemon's levels are. Pikachu's Thunder is a 1-hit KO, but we can 1-hit KO it first. But the Charizard requires a lot more finesse with Swagger, and a single flamethrower knocks us out. And it's not even close. We never stood a chance at this level. And we got totally pummeled. So listen, I'm not gonna yank your chain and beat around the bush, alright? It's Christmas and we've all got places to be, so I'll cut to the chase. I had to get all the way to level 85 before I even stood a chance of winning. At level 71, I could sometimes get really lucky with Swagger and get past the Charizard, but the rest of Red's team was still way too much to handle. Even now, when I make it past the Charizard with full health, you can see how tricky this is. Espeon without super effective damage does half of our health with Psychic, and Snorlax boosts its special defense with Amnesia to the point where we barely do any damage. So, it's time to fight fire with fire. Once Snorlax is low, I use Swagger to boost its attack to prevent it from using the move Rest and recovering its health. If it goes for a Body Slam and lands it, we lose. But if it hits itself with Confusion, we finish it off. Venusaur comes out and I could 1 KO it with Blizzard, but instead I purposefully stall for extra turns just to get a little bit of additional leftovers recovery for the Blastoise that's coming up. Return is a 4-hit KO against it, and I realize that the Sunlight Venusaur set is going to fade soon, which will no longer reduce the damage of Surf, so I go for a last-ditch Swagger to buy some time. I mean, come on y'all, I've been sled down a long and arduous path, so it's time to toboggan with fate. Please, just let this Blastoise hit itself in Confusion, and I swear, Lord, I'll be a better person. Ha ha ha! Joke's on you! Back to being selfish! Wahoo! And with that, the challenge is over. I wish it didn't have to come down to Swagger at the end, but hey, a win's a penguin. All in all, this little feathered fiend really surprised me. After all, going into this I had pretty low expectations, but this Pokemon really Delibird. As always, I want to thank you for making it to the end of this video. These videos are a lot of fun, but also a lot of work, so I really do appreciate it. There's a playlist on my channel where you can find the rest of my Pokemon challenge videos if you want to check those out as well. And if you like this kind of content and want to see more, be sure to subscribe and enable notifications so you'll know right away the next time one of these episodes is uploaded. And if you want early access to these videos and to have your name listed in the credits, consider becoming a member or joining on Patreon. And if you have a Pokemon you want to see, let me know in the comments and I'll probably do it. Next week is New Year's Eve, so I'll be kicking in the new year by trying to beat Pokemon Red using only one Eevee. It's a New Year's Eve extravaganza. Alright, anyways, until next time. Bye!